Let me tell you guys a story about Operation Feed the Nation. Operation Feed the Nation is one of those agricultural policies that we have experienced in Nigeria in previous years. Now, if you don't know, there are different policies in Nigeria, in government generally, but we're talking about agriculture. So Nigeria has seen various agricultural policies, and Operation Feed the Nation is one that happened a long time ago. During the colonial times, people started farming cash crops. So like your palm oil, there was the cocoa, there was granite, and people focused on these things because they were able to export this and make lots of money. Now, while people or some people were focusing on the cash crops, small scale farmers were focusing on the food crops. So they were planting things that people could eat, and then they could eat, and then they sold the surplus. Okay. So that was how things were being run at the time. But in the early 1960s, the small-scale farmers started seeing that it wasn't very profitable to do the farming that they were doing. So they abandoned their farms and they focused on the cash crops. Some of them left their farms to work in the farms of those people producing the cash crops that were being exported, because they felt people were making money from those crops, right? And then at the time too, youths who now had education were moving to urban areas to seek paid employment. So what happened was that the people who were previously farming food crops were now abandoning their farms, and so not many farmers were doing this. People now focused on going to the cities, and even the ones who were still farming were focusing on cash crops for exportation. This happened over time. Now, when this combined with there was now an oil boom, people were abandoning their farms and stuff like that, there was now increase in food prices. Nigeria now started moving towards importing things into the country instead of farming. I think that's even the beginning of our problem. But anyway, I'm still telling you guys the story. Now, when this continued to happen at the time, around 1976, then head of state, which happened to be Obasanjo, now introduced the agricultural policy called Operation Feed the Nation. It was presented during the presentation of the budget for that year, which was 1976. And then they had so many things they wanted to do to encourage people to continue farming. So they did stuff like in primary schools or in secondary schools, biology teachers, agri teachers were encouraged to teach children. In fact, they were made to include it in the curriculum. People were made to farm, encouraged to farm even during holidays, just so that they know that people are still getting into farming and trying to produce food for themselves. And then they were, of course, encouraged to take what you want and sell the surplus, right? But after all the things that were introduced, they did this with the schools, they gave funds to farmers, they tried to get like the agricultural banks to give loans to farmers to make them, just encouraged to continue farming. After they did all this, 5 years down the line, they realized that there was still a problem. It did not work. This policy did not work. And then change of government, which is one of the big things that we have in Nigeria, change of government. Anyway, Operation Feed the Nation didn't work like the planned, and after that, they introduced another policy, which is the Green Evolution. That one also had its own focus, and it went on and on. So over the years, we've seen different agricultural policies. There's a current one, which I'll talk to you guys about later, but a lot of people do not know about Operation Feed the Nation, even though it's very popular. I mean, I wasn't even born at the time, but that name, Operation Feed the Nation, is something that I've heard a number of times, and I wanted to give you guys the gist around it. I hope that this has given you some sense of the agricultural policies that you guys have had over the years. I'll see you guys in my next video.